The Nintendo DS is one of my favorite handheld consoles. From cool action games to chill puzzle solving and deep RPGs, this handheld had it all. Today, I'm sharing with you my personal favorite DS games. You might already know some, but I'm sure there will be a few which will surprise you. I handpicked all these games and I made my research regarding how they are aged and if they are still worth to play today. I plan to make a review about all these games on my channel, but now I just give a brief introduction about them. And now, let's start the video. When it comes to fast-paced action and good old platforming, the DS has absolutely delivered. Whether it was pixel-perfect jumps, twin-screen chaos or run-and-gun madness, these games gave us the kind of handheld thrills that are very much enjoyable even today. Let's start with Nanostray, which is an intense top-down shoot-'em-up that feels like it belongs in an arcade. It throws waves of enemies at you, and you got to use a stylus or your fingers to switch weapons in real time. It sounds weird and it's a bit awkward. I would prefer to use a button, but it's fine. The sci-fi story is just there to set the mood, but really, this one is all about reflexes and bullet hell. IGN gave it a solid 7.5, and honestly, it still holds up as a cool shooting game. Now this one is surprised me. Aliens Infestation is a 2D Metroidvania style shooter that absolutely nails the atmosphere of the Alien movies. You control a squad of marines, and one dies, they're gone for good, Bermuda style. It's short, stylish, and dripping with tension. If you're into the franchise, it's a must play. IGN gave it an 8.5, and I say it well deserved it. It's a very good game, and I made a review of it on my channel. Metal Slug 7 doesn't break the formula, and that's a good thing. It's a classic run-and-gun chaos with explosions, huge bosses, and that crisp animated style the series is known for. Unfortunately no co-op this time, which is a shame, but for a handheld experience it's surprisingly faithful. GameSpot rated it 7.5 and I had a blast with it. Well, Contra 4 is brutal, but very satisfying at the same time. Dual screen action means enemies are literally coming from all directions, and the grappling hook adds a cool twist to the classic gameplay. The story is barely there, just more aliens to destroy, but who cares? It's a difficulty that keeps you coming back, and when I say it's difficult, I mean it. It is brutal, but still very worth playing. IGN gave it an 8.5, and it's easily one of the best action games on the system. This one is a hidden gem. Chrono Trigger has you controlling the same character in two timelines at once. Top screen is the past, bottom screen is the present, and you have to dodge hazards in both. It's a platformer, but it plays more like a brain teaser. The sci-fi revenge plot is light but fun, and while Eurogamer only gave it a 6, I think the concept alone makes it worth a look. Next one is Mega Man ZX. ZX is like classic Mega Man mixed with a bit of Metroidvania. You can transform into different forms, each with unique abilities, and explore a large interconnected world. It's set way after the Zero series, so there's a cool future tech feel to it. The action is tight, and the challenge is real. IGN scored it 8.2, and I think it's one of the best handheld Mega Man experiences out there. Oh, this one is an adorable chaos. Kirby gets split into 10 mini Kirbys, and you control them all using the stylus, flinging them at enemies, stacking them for puzzles, or just swarming everything. It's part puzzle, part platformer, and all charm. The story is simple, Kirby-style mischief, and IGN gave it a well-deserved 8.5. It's the kind of game that makes you smile the whole time. Next one is the legendary Starfy. Starfy is like Kirby's underwater cousin. This platformer has a big focus on swimming mechanics, simple combat, and a light-hearted story about a royal starfish going on an adventure. I know it sounds like a girlish game, but it's super chill and easy, but full of charm and color. IGN gave it a 7.5, and while it's not super challenging, it's a great pick for laid-back gaming. Sonic Rush and Sonic Rush Adventure. These two Sonic games are seriously underrated. They combine classic 2D Sonic speed with stylish tricks, boost mechanics, and a killer soundtrack. The dual screen layout means you are zooming up and down constantly, and the boss fights are just pure spectacle. Rush focuses more on speed, while Rush Adventure adds vehicles and a pirate-flavored story. IGN gave both strong 8s, and honestly, they may be my favorite Sonic games outside the Genesis era. Commando Steel Disaster looks like and feels a lot like Metal Slug, but it's got grittier and more serious vibe. The control is a bit stiff, but the challenge is real, and the sprite work is great. You play a lone soldier fighting off a tech terrorist group, and while it didn't make a huge splash critically, it's a solid throwback if you are into run-and-gun shooters. Wario goes full ham in Master of Disguise. It's a platformer with puzzle elements where you draw different disguises on the touchscreen, like a thief, a dragon, or a wizard, to solve puzzles and fight enemies. The humor is there, but the control can be a bit clunky, to be honest. IGN gave it a 6.9, and while it's not perfect, it still got that WarioWareness I love. Henry Hatsworth is one of the strangest and most brilliant games on the DS. You play as a classic British adventurer in a platforming world, but you also have to solve match-free puzzles on the bottom screen in real time to keep enemies from coming back. It sounds insane, but it works. The humor, art and challenge is all spot on. IGN gave it an 8.4, and it's one of those games that you have to try at least once. I probably don't have to mention this, but all of the DS Castlevanias are top tier. Dawn of Sorrow continues the story from Aria with a great soul collecting mechanic. Portrait of Ruin mixes things up with a tag team duo and portal-based stages, while Order of Ecclesia is the toughest of the bunch with a glyph system and a badass heroine. All three are deep, atmospheric and perfect for fans of exploration and heavy action. They score between 8.5 and 9 across the board, and honestly, they are some of the best Metroidvania games ever made. When it comes to RPGs, the Nintendo DS is stacked. From classic turn-based adventures to experimental system, and even some incredible remakes, this handheld had it all. These are my favorite RPGs on the DS, some well-known, some hidden gems, but all unforgettable in their own way. Let's start with the obvious, Pokémon. Black and White gave us one of the freshest takes on the series with an entirely new Pokédex until the post-game, a more mature story and a modern visual style. Meanwhile, Soul Silver is just perfection, an enhanced remake of Gold and Silver with your Pokémon following you, amazing music, and a Pokewalker. Both games were critical hits. Black and White scored 87 on Metacritic, and Soul Silver wasn't far behind. If you had a DS, chances are you owned at least one of these. Now let's talk about Chrono Trigger, a timeless classic that made its way to the Nintendo DS in one of the best ports ever made. Originally released on the SNES, this is a turn-based RPG with an epic time-traveling story, unforgettable characters, and a combat system that still feels fresh today thanks to its combo attacks and no random battle design. On the DS, you get the full game plus added dungeons and a new translation. It's a story about saving the world by jumping across time periods, from prehistoric lands to apocalyptic futures, and the choices you can lead to one of multiple endings. This version is a definitive way to go to experience one of the greatest RPGs of all time. These are classic JRPGs at their finest. Dragon Quest V follows a single hero across 3 generations of his life with monster taming before Pokémon made it cool. Dragon Quest VI leans more into dream worlds and class systems. Both got remakes on DS with updated visuals and a smooth UI. If you like charming stories and old school grind, these are essential. Both games landed strong reviews, especially Dragon Quest V, which many fans consider the best in the series. Dragon Quest Monsters Joker takes the monster collecting idea even further. It's like Pokémon meets Dragon Quest. You scout monsters, breed them, and create a team to battle in turn-based combat. The world's 3D and open to explore, and it's got a fun tournament structure. It didn't get as much hype, but I sank a ton of hours into it. IGN gave it a 7.8, and I think it deserved more attention. The DS got a new few Final Fantasy spin-offs, each really different. Ring of Fates is an action RPG with local co-op, light story, and fun dungeon crawling. The 4 Heroes of Light is like a love letter to the NES era, adorable pixel art, a crown-based job system, and tons of old-school charm. Revenant thinks is actually a real-time tactics game and a direct sequel to Final Fantasy XII with simplified strategy gameplay. All got solid reviews around the 7-8 range, but if you're a Final Fantasy fan, they're definitely worth playing. Also, the Nintendo DS brought back some true Final Fantasy classics in style. Final Fantasy III and Final Fantasy IV both got full 3D remakes on the system, complete with voice acting, updated music, and some added story elements. Final Fantasy III finally got its first official Western release, letting players experience this job-based adventure the way it was meant to be played. And Final Fantasy IV is still one of the series' best stories, full of twists, betrayals, and redemption. Both games stick to classic turn-based combat and had that old-school challenge. And the Etrian Odyssey series. These games are tough as nails, but so rewarding. Etrian Odyssey is a first-person dungeon crawler where you actually draw your own map on the touchscreen. You build a party, plan out skills carefully, and dive deep into massive labyrinths. The story is light, but the gameplay is all about strategy and survival. They are not for everyone, but if you are into hardcore dungeon crawling, this series is gold. Reviews set comfortably in the 8 range. This is hands down one of the most original RPGs on the DS. Set in a stylized version of Shibuya, Tokyo, you play as a teenager caught in a deadly game where the stakes are your existence. The battle system is wide. You control one character on the touch screen and another on the top screen at the same time. It's overwhelming at first, but incredibly satisfying. The art, music, and story are unforgettable. Critics loved it. It holds an 88 on Metacritic, and I honestly think it's a masterpiece. Lunar Knights is a sci-fi vampire hunting action RPG with top-down Zelda-style combat, solar and lunar cycles that affect gameplay, and even shooter sections when you launch into space. Yeah, it's that wide. It's kind of a spiritual successor to the Boktai games on GBA. The combat's snappy, the visuals pop, and the music is great. IGN gave it an 8, and I had so much fun with it. Magical Star Sign. This one is quirky and colorful. It's a turn-based RPG with a magic school setup, kind of like Harry Potter meets space travel. You recruit classmates, fight enemies using elemental spells, and the planet alignment system adds a layer of strategy to your casting. It's not super deep, but the writing is fun and the world is full of charm. It flew under the radar with a 7.5 from IGN, but I still think about it years later. Don't let the tactical RPG label fool you. This game pulls no punches. You play as a soldier who makes a literal deal with death to change fate, and every mission has huge moral stakes. You can sacrifice party members for power, and the story changes based on your choices. It's dark, philosophical, and the combat is a cool mix of strategy and action timing. It got 8 from IGN, but emotionally, it hit way harder than I expected. Phantasy Star Zero is Sega's take on online action RPGs for DS, and yes, you could actually play online with friends. It's like a mini version of Phantasy Star Online with real-time combat, customizable characters, and a surprisingly good story told through missions. The offline mode works too, and it's a great solo experience. It landed around the 7.5, and it's a must-play fans for an online co-op RPGs. Blue Dragon Awakened Shadow. The spin-off ditches the original turn-based combat for a real-time action RPG setup. You customize your character, gear up, and fight through dungeons with help from the original cast. It's fun, but definitely a different vibe than the Xbox 360 game. It got mixed reviews, mostly 6 and 7s, but I still liked it for the visual style and customization. Summon Knight to Win Age. This is a solid action RPG with real-time combat and anime-style charm. You control 2 characters, one melee, one magic, and switch between them as you explore and fight. The touchscreen controls are smooth, and while the story is a bit light, it got hard. If you're into classic action RPGs, this one is a chill, rewarding time. Away Shuffle Dungeon. This game has a unique gimmick. Dungeons literally shuffle themselves while you're exploring. You have to time your movements to avoid getting stuck or crushed. It mixes Zelda-style action with a weird sense of humor and a town-building side element. Critics were mixed, but I had a good time with it. It's one of those weird experiments that only the DS could pull off. If you love roguelikes, check this out. Izuna is a ninja girl in a tough dungeon crawler with permadeath, turn-based movement, and pixel-perfect charm with real-time fights and dungeon climbing. It's a fun game for pick-up and play sessions, but because of the permadeath feature, it could induce rage quit moments, so be careful. Orcs and Elves and Final Fantasy Voloko Fighter Mountain. These two are old-school first-person dungeon crawlers. Orcs and Elves came from John Carmack of Doom fame, originally on mobile, and it's got that old-school PC RPG feel. Final Fantasy is based on the classic game books and mixes light dice roll RPG mechanics with exploration. They're not flashy, but they scratch that nostalgia itch perfectly. One of the reasons I love the DS so much is how many tactical and strategy games it got. Seriously, it was like a golden age. Whether you are into grind-based battles, resource management, or city building, there is something here for you. Let's kick it off with Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon. This is a remake of the very first Fire Emblem game, finally brought to the West with updated visuals and full voice acting. It's pure grid-based strategy, permadeath, unique classes, careful planning. Some fans found it too basic, but I love the clean presentation and the return to the series roots. It scored an 81 on Metacritic, and if you never played the Fire Emblem, this is a good place to start. Luminous Arc 1 and 2. These are two underrated tactical RPGs with anime-style art and turn-based grid combat. You build a team of magic users and knights, craft relationships between them, and enjoy some surprisingly solid voice acting. The story is a classic fantasy versus evil empire, but it's full of charm. Combat's easy to get into, but there's enough depth to keep it interesting. Both scored in the high 7s to low 8 with critics. Rondo of Swords. This one is a bit more niche. It looks like a typical tactics RPG, but it plays totally differently. You don't move square by square, instead you draw movement lines across the map and slash through enemies along the way. It's weird at first, but super satisfying once it clicks. The permadeath and difficulty are no joke though. This is for hardcore tactics fans only, but I really enjoy the unique combat system. Hero Saga Layton Tactics, sorry for my French. This is a bit of a hidden gem. This one's heavily inspired by Final Fantasy Tactics with sprite-based combat and a job system. You can even recruit and customize troops for battle formations. The story is nothing groundbreaking, but the gameplay totally scratches that strategy RPG itch. It didn't make a big splash when it came out, reviews hovered in the 6-7 range, but for fans of the genre, it's worth checking out. Knights in the Nightmare. This one's completely wide. It's a tactics game mixed with bullet hell elements. Seriously, you're not directly moving units, you are a wisp that activates characters and dodges enemy projectiles in real time. Add a deep, tragic story and gothic visuals and you got one of the most unique DS games out there. It's overwhelming but also unforgettable. Critics gave it around 7.5 mostly for being so ambitious. Giant Robot Bugs. That's basically the pitch, and it totally works. Drone Tactics is a turn-based strategy game where you build insect mechs with customizable weapons and armor. The story is a little Saturday morning cartoonish, but the gameplay is solid and surprisingly deep. It flew under the radar, but if you love advanced wars or mechs in general, give this one a look. Lock's Quest. This one is more of a real-time tower defense game but with a strong story and a beautiful pixel art. You play as Locke, a young inventor building and defending structures against waves of clockwork enemies. Between battles, there is town exploration, cutscenes and character upgrades. It's super polished and it got a solid 8 from IGN. There's even a remastered version out now, but I still love the DS original. LEGO Battles is a kid-friendly RTS with base building, resource gathering and combat. It's surprisingly full-featured for a LEGO game, but 3 different storylines: space, pirates and medieval. The units and strategy are pretty simple, but it's charming, colorful and really fun to play in short bursts. Critics gave it a 7 across the board, but for a DS RTS it holds up well. Anno Dawn of Discovery. This is the DS version of the popular PC city building series. You gather resources, manage your population, build towns and trade with other islands. It's a chill strategy game with a historical vibe and surprisingly deep mechanics for a handheld port. It's not flashy, but if you like slow burn games that reward planning, this one's a sleeper hit. It averaged around 7.5 from most outlets. Age of Empires, the Age of Kings and Mythologies. These two games adapt the Age of Empires RTS formula into turn-based tactics on the DS, and they actually work really well. Age of Kings covers medieval empires like the Franks and Mongols, while Mythologies shifts into ancient Greece, Norse and Egyptian gods, complete with special abilities and units. They are slower paced than the PC originals, but perfect for portable strategies. They both score around 80 and remain two of the best DS games for strategy nerds. I already mentioned Final Fantasy XII Revenant Wings, but I'm going to mention it here as well. Also, I'm going to talk about Heroes of Mana. These two are real-time tactics games with a big emphasis on summoning monsters and managing units in battle. Revenant Wings is a direct sequel to Final Fantasy XII and it streamlines the RPG into accessible, fast-paced battles. Heroes of Mana plays similarly, but with a bit more focus on the resource gathering. Both are gorgeous for DS styles and scratched that RTS itch for me back in the day. Reception was mixed. Revenant Wings scored better with around 8s, while Heroes of Mana got 6, but I still enjoyed both. Advance Wars Dual Strike and Days of Ruin. No DS strategy lineup is complete without Advance Wars. The DS got 2 incredible entries, Dual Strike and Days of Ruin. Dual Strike sticks with the classy bright anime-style visuals and quirky CO powers. You command tanks, infantry, aircraft, you name it, on grid-based maps, capturing cities and trying to outmaneuver the enemy. The dual screen setup is used brilliantly here, letting you manage battles on 2 fronts. It scored around 90 on Metacritic and is still considered one of the best in the series. Then you got Days of Ruin, which goes in a totally different direction. Dark, gritty story, new characters and a post-apocalyptic setting. The CO powers are toned down for more balanced gameplay and the new units add a lot of depth. Some of fans missed the old charm but actually appreciated the fresh tone. Critics gave this one high praise too, with an 86 on Metacritic. Both games are top tier tactical warfare on the go and still holds up beautifully today. And now let's switch gears. The DS was made for puzzle games, with the touchscreen and dual screen setup. Whether you were solving brain teasers, popping bubbles or grooving to music, the system had a puzzle or rhythm game for everyone. Here are my favorites. Let's start with the Professor Layton series, basically a mix of mystery novels and logic puzzles. You follow Professor Layton and his apprentice Luke as they solve strange cases with dozens of clever puzzles thrown in. From riddles to brain teasers, each one is tied into the plot, which always ends with a bizarre twist I won't spoil. The art style is charming, the voice acting is great and the stories keep you hooked. All 3 DS games scored in the mid to high 80s and they still feel timeless. This one completely took me by surprise back in the day. Puzzle Quest blends a traditional fantasy RPG with match-free puzzle mechanics. You explore the world, fight enemies, level up your character and cast spells, but all of that happens through a match-free board. It sounds weird, but it works beautifully. The RPG layer adds real depth and strategy to what would otherwise be a casual puzzle game. Critics loved it too. It hit around 82 on Metacritic and even inspired a bunch of copycats. And then there is Galactrix, a sci-fi follow-up that uses hex-based puzzles instead of a square grid. It's deeper in some ways but a bit harder to get into. Still, it has a cool space travel system with the same additive loop, not as beloved as the original, but still a worthwhile sequel. Puzzle Bubble Galaxy, or Bust Move DS. This is pure arcade fun. You shoot colored bubbles at the ceiling, try to match 3 or Mortal Problem. Sounds simple but is crazy addictive. Puzzle Bubble Galaxy brought the classic gameplay to the DS with some new modes and touchscreen controls. It's a perfect pick up and play game that's aged really well. Reviews hovered around the 7 range, but if you love old school puzzle games, this one is a keeper. This one is so much fun. You tap and drag to the beat of licensed songs while a team of secret agents dances and save the day in the most ridiculous scenarios ever, like helping a dog find his way home or a baseball player gain confidence. The rhythm gameplay is tight, the soundtrack is awesome, and the comic book style presentation is unforgettable. It got a solid 87 on Metacritic and is still one of the best rhythm games on any Nintendo platform. Meteos is a real-time puzzle game where blocks fall from the sky and you launch them by matching 3 of the same kind. Each planet you play on has different gravity and speed, changing how blocks behave. It's fast-paced, chaotic and perfect for a DS touchscreen. It's made by the same guy behind Smash Brothers and it shows in how tight the gameplay feels. Metacritic gave it an 88 and yeah, it absolutely deserves it. If you love gripping stories, mind-bending puzzles and engaging characters, the DS had some best of visual novels and adventure games out there. These aren't your typical platformers or action games, these titles will pull you in, make you think, and maybe even get you a little emotional. Hotel Dusk is one of the standout adventure games on the DS. You play as Kyle Hyde, a disgraced ex-cop who checks into a mysterious hotel and slowly uncovers dark secrets about the guests and the staff. The game's unique visual style, like a moving comic book, keeps it fresh, and the story is filled with twists that make you want to keep playing. It's got a mature, noir vibe with great character development. Critics loved it with an 81 on Metacritic and it's a must-play for fans of narrative-driven games. Last Window is a sequel to Hotel Dusk, though it didn't get as much attention in the West. It follows the same protagonist, Kyle Hyde, as he investigates another set of mysteries, this time in his own apartment complex. The game sticks with the same noir visual style and dialogue-heavy storytelling. It's slower paced, but if you like the first game, Last Window is an excellent follow-up. It's a similar reception to Hotel Dusk, scoring around 78 on Metacritic. 9 hours, 9 persons, 9 doors. If you haven't played 999, you are missing out one of the most gripping visual novels ever made. You're stuck on a sinking ship with 8 other people, and you must solve puzzles and make life or death choices to escape. The game is split between escape the room puzzles and intense narrative choices, and the story features multiple endings, each one crazier than the last. This game nailed the feeling of dread and urgency. 999 scored a solid 87 on Metacritic and it remains a fan favorite for anyone into dark, story-driven games. Ghost Trick Phantom Detective is a masterpiece of storytelling and puzzle solving. You play as Cecil, a ghost with no memory who can possess objects to change their fate and solve his own murder. The game combines mystery, clever puzzles and a unique time manipulation mechanics where you rewind time and alter the course of events. The art style is gorgeous and the story will have you hooked from start to finish. It scored an 84 on Metacritic and is definitely one of the most underrated games on the DS. You can't talk about DS visual novels without mentioning Phoenix Wright. You play as Phoenix, a rookie defense attorney, solving bizarre cases by gathering evidence and cross-examining witnesses. It's part courtroom drama, part detective story, and it's filled with unforgettable characters and hilarious moments. The first game was a hit with a 90 on Metacritic, and its sequels, Justice for All and Trials and Tribulations, continue the courtroom drama with even more outlandish cases. If you're a fan of mystery and legal drama, you can't go wrong with this series. The DS gave us 2 unique Zelda experiences that fully embrace the touchscreen. Phantom Hourglass follows up on Wind Waker, and Link sailing across a cell-shaded ocean and solving dungeons using stylus-based controls. Spirit Tracks flip the formula by putting Link on a train, navigating a world filled with puzzles and ancient spirits. Both games use clever mechanics like drawing your own path or solving puzzles with dual screen tricks, and while the stylus controls can take some getting used to, they make these entries stand out. Both are rated very well, and they are must-play for fans of Zelda who want something familiar yet experimental. And Mario absolutely thrived on the DS, with a little something for every kind of player. New Super Mario Bros. Brought the classic 2D platforming magic back with smooth controls, huge levels, and new power-ups like the Mega Mushroom. Mario Kart DS is an all-time favorite, tight tracks, online play, and even a mission mode that never came back in future titles. And let's not forget Mario and Luigi Partners in Time, a quirky, time-traveling RPG that is hilarious as it is creative. You control both the adult and baby versions of Mario and Luigi, using all 4 characters in battle for combo-based attacks and puzzle solving. The turn-based combat is timing-heavy and full of charm, with tons of personality in every animation and enemy encounter. The story mixes comedy with a surprisingly eerie tone as you battle alien invaders called the Shroops across different time periods. It's rated E, and while it's often overshadowed by Bowser's inside story, Partners in Time is a standout RPG with that signature Nintendo humor. And for something darker and more strategic, the SHIN MEGAMI TENSEI games on DS hit hard. SMT Devil Survivor mixes tactical RPG gameplay with a countdown to Doomsday story where your choices really matter. You summon demons, fuse them, and build a party to survive a Tokyo lockdown filled with supernatural chaos. Its sequel Devil Survivor 2 expands on everything with new characters and even more branching parts. Then there is Strange Journey, a classic dungeon crawler set in Antarctica, blending sci-fi with psychological horror and demon negotiation. These games are deep, intense, and full of moral choices, and they are rated T to M depending on the title. And that's it! I'm sure that I missed a few games, so if you have any other suggestions, let everyone know in the comments below. I hope that you found this useful, and if you are, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel for more cool retro game recommendations and reviews. Also, the YouTube algorithm shows some videos for you, it is on the screen now, check them out. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next Backlog Quest video.